I'm surprised you haven't said this one yet. The one I was expecting anyway is Daemon versus Ishiki.
It'd be
Now,
fun,
you're gonna
yeah.
hate this. I'm not talking about the Ishiki that fought earlier. If this hypothetical Ishiki return is stronger now, if he was stronger than Daemon, I do think he would be this would be a worthy time to have Daemon be humbled as a way of saying like, "Oh my god, like this Ishiki, like this is the Ishiki Amato was talking about. Like he's stronger than Daemon kind of thing." I think that would work well. But I think this should be a stronger Ishiki if we're gonna do this.
I
But
mean, you're right, I do hate
regardless,
it. If anything, they should do that way later down the line. They can't do it anywhere near now because Damon, first of all,
no, 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 no. Of
he
course,
hasn't
this
even got
Ishiki's
his full
return
all out
wouldn't be
match.
near now.
Yeah,
This would be down the line.
that'd be towards the end of the series, honestly, because Damon needs to have a first fight. That's the minimum amount of time. His second fight could be his all out fight, but he still needs to win that fight. So the third fight would be this Ishiki fight. That's doing the bare minimum with Damon. I think he'll have many fights in between.
I don't know how many fights I expect from Daemon. I think they should have at least one more, like kind of like code where, let's just say it's Bug and Daemon just dog walks him, and then he has another one that's actually he's just like, no, oh, this is an interesting one where he's actually like having to try a little bit more, and then he has like the really hard fight. The problem is I don't expect like I'm saying all this because it'd be good. He has a really hard fight and then he loses. I don't actually expect him to have this many Daemon fights. That was the problem.
Bro, it's just like
So being
Saitama from One
realistic,
Punch Man. I know you haven't seen it, but everyone in One Punch Man, like the first time you're like, oh, there's no way Saitama can be this guy. But of course he's gonna be. He's freaking One Punch Man. Every single time you know that going into the fight.
no,
It's just
what
ridiculous
I'm
every
saying though for
time.
Daemon, like Daemon, I just don't expect to see Daemon have so many fights. Realistically speaking, like major fights. What I want to see is him at least dog walk someone again, then have an interesting fight, then have a really close fight where he really has to try, and then when he loses. I'd like to see at least that.
I hate that
I
you
feel like
haven't
they're gonna
seen
skip
Dragon
at
Ball.
least one of those.
The fact that you haven't seen Dragon Ball is such a big problem for all the analogies. Damon is similar to Whis if Ada is Beerus. Yeah, at least you probably know those names. Or you could say that Damon is either Zeno or the Royal Guard protecting Zeno. Like, they're introduced at the beginning of Dragon Ball Super, the new series, and the entire time they're just at the very top. Like, even now in the current story, they're at the very, like, they're not even close to being contested. It's not even like a possibility, really. It kind of like they're implying it might be in the future,
Mhm.
but like that's always been the case since the very beginning. And at no point do these characters need to be humbled or even have a tough fight, because that's not what makes these characters work, anyways. These characters already are working. No need to try and fix what isn't broken.
I don't know what their characters do in their story.
Yeah, they're literally
Is
just the gods who basically they're the mentors. Imagine they're the mentors just the whole story to where they're just stronger than like Goku's antagonists, just everyone the
okay, so
whole
they're
time.
kind of like Gojo then.
Yeah, so no
It's
matter
kind of like
how much
Gojo with the
stronger the
OP mentor.
characters get, they never catch up.
The only question though I have is okay, well, Damon is clearly not the mentor role. He never has been.
It
So what is
they're
Damon's role right
I
now?
wouldn't say no,
To being strong.
they're not like Gojo, because even in season 1, Gojo is put in precarious situations. They are more like you don't understand this, but they are more like Saitama from One Punch Man, or I can't say they're like the characters
Gojo
that they
has
are
never
from
been a
Dragon Ball Super.
precarious situation in season one.
I'd say he was.
When?
At the very least, he has people around him that he wants to protect, like his students. Why does Hollow Purple against Tanami?
Hey,
Like, he wants
does
to end the threat
what's
as
his
soon as
face?
possible, and he
Zeno
can't do
not
that.
want to protect his students if he's a mentor? Does he just not care?
No, Zeno and Saitama don't really care.
Okay,
Like, the
that's
moments they
fine.
care
But the
is the
point is,
moment the conflict ends immediately. And you could argue they don't really care. They,
well,
if anything, they weren't
that
expecting
applies to
the opponent to go down
Gojo
that fast.
in season one. Like 100% Gojo in season one.
No, because before
The
Hollow
moment
Purple,
he
he
gets
still
involved,
cared. That's
conflict
when he
ends
went all out,
immediately.
but he still cared. He still wanted to end it as fast as possible. It's like Killer B. Killer B didn't care in his fight against Sasuke. He's still playing around. But he couldn't just end
Yes.
it. They're giving him a run for his money to some degree. It was an actual fight.
But in Gojo's case, they're not giving him a run for his money. He is just like dilly-dally.
Sure, but
Like,
Gojo's having an actual fight, whereas characters like Zeno and Saitama, they can't fight.
in season 1, Gojo's not really depends. Like I said, I don't know what the fights look like there, but I wouldn't call it an actual fight for Gojo anywhere in season 1.
Anyways,
He's
he still
just dicking around.
cares about like all the people there, so it's different. Like,
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, either way though, but Daemon doesn't apply to either of these because he's definitely not the mentor role. He definitely doesn't care about anyone there except for Ada.
exactly.
What is Daemon's role in the story right now?
Well, not mentor in the sense that he's mentoring characters, but mentor in the sense that like he's the goal to get stronger towards.
But the problem with that is that's not even true because Boruto at the end of the time skip is just like, yeah, bro, I'm never gonna get on your level. He's not even trying
It's
to
not
be
for the
Daemon's level. He
characters,
thinks
it's for the
Daemon's
audience.
unreachable.
It's not for the characters, it's for the audience. Because it's same with Zeno in Dragon Ball, and it's same for Saitama
Okay,
in One Punch Man.
that's fine. But then if that's the case, we need a little bit more Daemon action than we've been getting.
I agree.
Which we both
I'm
want.
fine with that.
But
Yeah, exactly.
like I said, I agree with what you're saying in terms of wanting, but I'm also looking at it from what I expect, and I just I genuinely don't feel like we're gonna get. We'll get Daemon fights somewhere, absolutely, but I don't think we're gonna get like 6 of them.
I feel like we haven't missed out on Daemon yet at all. Like, I feel like there's nowhere in the story that I'm like, man, Daemon should have been here. Would have been so cool if Daemon was here.
I agree, but the problem is, what we can have Daemon do, he can fight a Shinju, or he can fight the return of Ishiki.
That's
Who
coming
else is he gonna
up.
fight?
What do you mean? Who else is he gonna fight? At the beginning of Shippuden, you're like, oh, who else is Naruto gonna fight? You haven't been introduced to like 90% of the antagonists yet. They're just gonna make new ones.
We have at least 9 options. Each of the Akatsuki, Orochimaru, Sasuke, Kabuto. There's plenty of people we could say he could fight.
You know what I mean. Okay, well, there's a freaking Otsutsuki world they could fight. There you go. There's an unlimited amount of Otsutsukis, potentially.
But, like, the difference, at least with the Akatsuki, is we've seen them. Like...
Okay, well, there's stone tablets that we've seen. There you go. Go fight the people there.
Okay. We'll add those 2 to the list.
We've seen a lot of divine trees, and theoretically, all of those are Otsutsukis. So, there you go. Yeah, we've seen more Otsutskis than we have Akatsuki members. What do you say about that one, Kamui?
Perhaps so, but just realistically speaking, like I said, I'm not saying that there's no one he could fight. I just feel like I don't expect a lot of Daemon fights. Like, I hope I'm wrong. I just am not sitting there thinking, like, I don't expect to get, like, 5 or 6 Daemon fights. I'm hoping we at least get 3 more.
Well, it depends how long the story is. Now, minimum is 3 for sure. It depends how long the story is. If you're like, oh yeah, 7 more volumes and it's a wraps, then yeah. But if you're like, okay, it's going to be at least as long as part 1, probably longer, like Shippuden was, then yeah, I expect it probably 5, if not more. Maybe 6, probably more.
Honestly, I don't even know if I expect it, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like losing track of time, and it hasn't been as long as it feels like.
Well, it hasn't actually been all that long since the last Daemon fight. It's been a little bit long in terms of real life, but like not like years. It's been like
a year and 3/4 or something like that.
Like, it's been like an arc and a half. He doesn't have to fight every single arc. He's not the main character. It's like
June.
Sakura.
It was June. So yeah.
Yeah. Like, Sakura fought Sasori, and then she didn't fight Hidan or Kakuzu. You still expected her to fight Pain the next arc. That's fine.
Bro, I did not expect her to fight Pain.
You know what I'm talking about. You didn't expect Sakura to just not be in the story ever again. Oh, she's only gonna get 1 more fight after Sasori. No.
Okay, but like, I mean, actually, let's consider how many actual fights Sakura had. Okay, we can count. Okay, Tenchi Bridge with like, she didn't do a whole lot, but she was kind of fighting with like, actually, no, that's just the anime opening. She did not fight Kabuto at all. I don't know if I want to count her getting bodied by Sasuke as a fight.
Okay, what about like Kiba and Lee and everyone?
Just to be generous.
That's the thing.
When she threw a smoke bomb on the ground,
struggles are fights. Like, Naruto fought in the first stage of the tuning exams. Okay, he fought that written exam. You can't tell me that wasn't a fight.
Okay, but then if that's the case, Daemon's never had a fight because he's never struggled.
Okay, but we also count physical fights as a separate thing as well. Oh, it's both.
Yeah, bro, you're gonna fight to be. I mean, we'll just see what happens.
But
Anyway,
like the
moving
pace you're
on.
going with soccer is the exact pace I'm talking about. It's not every arc, and it's not like once or twice. Not 3 times. She has a few fights, like every other arc.
Well, it is though, because with Sakura, like, in terms of fist fights, I mean, realistically speaking, she doesn't really fight again until the war arc. She just gets insta-bodied by Sakura. I can barely call it a fight.
Okay, you're not gonna
She
count it
doesn't
as a big fight. That's
do
fine.
anything with Hinata Kakuzu. She just runs to Sai's location, or she runs to Shikamaru's location with Sai, and that doesn't do anything. And then the paint arc, she doesn't do anything really. She punches a centipede.
Okay,
Okay,
the
like,
problem here
she
is
heals. Like, she didn't do anything.
it's
but she
the
doesn't
meme
fight.
that
And
Sakura
then
is useless.
you
She's
have-
put in the position to do big things, and she's a big important character. If you put Daemon in those
I'm not saying
positions,
she's useless. Oh my god, I'm not saying she's useless. I'm
No,
talking
I
about
know.
the fist fight aspect.
I know, but I'm saying that's the meme though. She's still in the position that she needs to be narratively for those fights to make sense. And
Correct.
putting Daemon in that same position, you get exactly what you want from Daemon in the same narrative position.
Okay. Again, though, but we're talking about expectations for fist fights for Daemon. So getting back to Sakura, she doesn't actually fist fight again until when she freaking shows up to the battlefield late in the war arc and starts fighting some Ten Tails clones. And then after that, she kind of barely fights Madara and Kagi. She really doesn't get that many actual fights in Shippuden, bro.
But that's kind of different because
So if we're comparing Daemon to Sakura, I don't know, my expectations
No,
might
but you're
drop to
comparing it
one
to
fight.
physically though, because Sakura's character isn't about fights, whereas characters like Daemon, Saitama, and Gojo or whatever, Zeno from Dragon Ball, they're all about fights. That's almost the point. The point is both Sakura and Daemon are going to be narratively significant characters. They're going to be in the A story, actively doing things. Like, it's Sakura, I'm sure you would agree, even if she physically did the same things as someone like Hinata in the 5 Kage Summit arc, Sakura was far more narratively significant than Hinata. Not only physically present, but as an active character role dynamic in the story.
I mean, I agree, but you're really wanking your Daemon love here. Daemon has not been remotely implied to be as important of a character as Sakura yet. Like, he's very secondary to Ada. Ada would be more comparable right now, but so far Daemon really hasn't done a lot. I'm not saying he never will, but I wouldn't expect him to be on Sakura's level of importance to the narrative.
Nah, you link Ada and Daemon together. You just got it. That's their character dynamic. It's like 2 characters in false perfections that I'm not going to get into. You just link them together. It's you haven't seen Dragon Ball, but it's like Kel and Khalifa. Just because Khalifa is the more extroverted, dynamic one doesn't mean that Kel isn't the more important one.
I know what you're saying, but like at the same time, yeah, Pain and Conan, you just link them together. But I'm really looking at Pain, not Conan. Okay, I'm looking at Ada right now, not Daemon. I'm waiting for Daemon to do his own thing.
Man, I really love that fight with Pain versus Obito, one of the final antagonists. That was a great fight that Pain had.
But it's supposed to say you shouldn't do that, is my point. Even if they tend to go together, and most of the time, I'm still going to look at them individually. I'm not going to use Ada's importance as Daemon's importance. I need to look at what Daemon is doing and judge based off that. And hopefully Daemon will be more prominent later.
Okay, but either way it works, because if you link them together, then perfect, punky dory. If you don't link them together, then Daemon's just gonna do stuff anyways, because he's a narratively significant important character, just like Conan. She wasn't that great in the Pain arc, but she was afterwards because she's a freaking character on her own, yeah, and Daemon on his own.
Well, she was super cool, but I wouldn't say she was overly narratively significant.
Yeah, I'd say her fight with Obito was pretty important.
I think her fight with Obito was just freaking amazingly cool, more than anything.
Nah, bro. Like, building the pillar bridge for Naruto, that was cool.
It was so cool. And it does build up Obito, but it wasn't narratively significant.
Literally explained yin and yang release. Literally showed you the
Izanami. The well-explained, super important thing that had so much impact in Naruto.
Hey, you could argue Infinite Tsukiyomi is yin yang release. Hey, that rat sign that Naruto and Sasuke did at the very end, that was probably yin and yang release. I mean, it's not like Sasuke did a fire style jutsu with that. No, it wasn't fire style. Definitely didn't look like lightning style to me.